Yeah, what's up, man? It's your homie Boo Bang, back with another motherfucking Boo Bang theory. And this is a continuation of the image and more addiction to it, right? So this is a session 19. And so just gonna get hop back into, what I've been talking about, right? Because like I said, I think this is very important that I discuss going back to childhood. And so I know last time where I stopped off in session 18, I was kind of going through the ninth grade. I kind of stopped at ninth grade and was talking about what it takes, the credits you needed, the 26 credits you need to graduate, and And so just to recap though, and go back. So I started, you go all the way back. I'm on session 19 right now. So go all the way back to one and see where I started out off at, and try to see where I'm trying to take it to. And so starting from early childhood, from early childhood, our influences start with our parents, our siblings, and our immediate family or our household. So from a baby to 5 year old, we are, we learning from our parents, our siblings, and other close family members' behaviors, and learning to talk, walk, and run at that age, a particular age. We also learning how to receive and respond to information. And so that's in the early stages from baby to 5. And so from then, our influence is expanded, out to our local neighborhoods and our communities and shit like that. Like church and daycare. Letting the kids, go outside in the yard or on the block and play with the other kids. And so now they're being exposed to people outside the household. So the influence is there too. And so early school days, and then that influence expands again once we enter into society, like school, summer camps, and community centers, community activities and shit, along with church being involved in that too. And so early school days, we learn letters, numbers, words, formations, learning how to become in a group setting, learning group thinking, and this is from kindergarten through fifth grade. Learning our mobile skills, uh, learning, how to write sentences and do math. Early stages of math, reading and writing, up until the fifth grade. A little bit more advanced as you go up to fifth grade. But the basics, and that's the beginning of the social programming though. From kindergarten to the fifth grade, that's the beginning stage of this social programming. When we getting indoctrinated into this system. And so as we further go on and shit, we go to so on through the middle school, and I talked about middle school and what that take and what that takes on in itself. Like, so for instance, learning new activities or being involved in new activities, being involved in different community services or different non-profits, having being involved in sports, and going through more advanced classes and shit, and going through puberty at the same time and shit too though. So again though, at this particular time as a teenager, you got all these influences, and so it really began to set in and press in on us and shit, as far as being a teenager in high school and shit. So peer pressure from our kids. So let me see. So in the teenage uh, life, we start to take on and look at trends and fashion and shit too, right? We start to listen to music, and start to be influenced by like celebrities and shit like that we see on TV, or celebrities that we hear in the music, and we start to be influenced by also people in our neighborhoods and shit too, right? Depending on your upbringing, depending on where you was brought up in. Like, so if you was brought up in a good neighborhood and shit like that, you had people that professionals probably around in your neighborhood that you probably looked up to. For somebody that came out the gutter, or came from a lower income, or neighborhood, come from the slums or whatnot, it's a different story in the upbringing. And so all these things are factor into it too, on how the child becomes who they are. And so I talked about all this yesterday, and like I said though, you start to get influenced though by the trends, fashion, celebrities, social media, our peers, our friends, advertisement, what I'm saying, teenagers and adults alike. We all get influenced by these same things. But it's more for a teenager, being so new in the world, trying to figure out what everything is at that particular time, mind being so fresh, so new, and just kind of trying to take in everything. What I'm saying, it's a bit hard to bring in all that information and know how to deal with it, because you're new to it. So you're gonna have to go through trial and error. And so it's all a part of this bigger thing called life too, and learning our mistakes, and dealing with them, and moving forward. It's just like school though. So when you're at that young age though, you more you more influenced, right? You more susceptible of being influenced, and so also, you got to think about, as a teenager, when you're in middle school, and all the competitions and shit that go on in the middle schools and shit, where we start to what getting titles. So we start to winning awards and getting rewards for work that we do, trophies, titles, medals. Start getting compliments and accolades, what I'm saying, as we grow up. And those things, we take that to the head, as a teenager. It makes you feel good, when somebody give you a compliment, or you win a trophy, or get an award for, or rewarded for doing something positive, or doing something that you feel like was important, or just the learning aspect of it. You learned something, you did something that was good, so you got rewarded for it, or complimented, or pat on the back for it, make you feel good. And so the more that you get, the more that builds into your character too, though. And so for a young fragile mind like that, so new to the world, man, it's like you don't know how to deal with that. You know what I mean? So a lot of us, tend to become self-centered, become conceited, become arrogant, what I'm saying, become selfish, and then as that's just some of the things we start to become as at that early age in middle school. And so like I said, I talked about middle school in the last one, so I'm just going back through shit. And so you start to get all these things coming towards you and shit, right? And so it can become overwhelming, for a child that age, not to mention, at this age, being pushed or persuaded to pursue a career that you might not even be interested in, far as from your parents, your grandparents or some family member or older sibling or teacher or principal or some type of education counselor, you know, they start to try to direct you into the way they think you should go to on the knowledge that you hold. I want to say, depending on what type of knowledge you hold, and so just because you might be good at math or mathematics, don't necessarily mean you want to go into accounting or something to deal with numbers. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're good at spelling or writing, don't mean actually you want to go into literature or journalism or some shit like that, right? And so the kids start getting confused because not only at that time you always want to be looked upon like you're doing good. You don't want to let somebody down. You don't want to let your parents down, most importantly at that age, and you don't want to let your teachers down and shit like that. So sometimes we go with what that adult is kind of recommending we do, and so we kind of lose out on what our real actual dream was, the shit that we really wanted to do, and sometimes at that point you really don't know what you want to do yet, you know what I mean? But you start to get influenced by the outside people or the people outside you and trying to direct your path and where they want you to go or where they think you should go. And so that can become a big issue with a lot of people if you're not strong-minded, especially like I said, at that age, you're so fresh and your mind is so fragile and you so easily to be manipulated or influenced by somebody else that that's a hard task for most of us, right? And so let me see where I wanted to go after that. Oh yeah, so another big thing too, we got to understand like the kids and how impressionable we are at that age, and especially when it comes to like the movies, music, and these video games and shit like that, right? Also, at that age, you can be easily influenced by the gangs, religion, and other neighborhood situations, right? And so you got shit going on outside of school that's molding you and kind of dictating the routes you take too, right? It's a story for me, at least. But anyway, and so when we get up to this, all the way you get through middle school, I talked about that shit, 18, get to middle school, now be in 9th grade, boom. 9th grade and shit, right? And be going through all this shit. 9th grade is where, you probably already been, working a job already at this point. You're doing sports, you're doing all these extracurricular activities and shit like that, but you partying too. Most kids that age be partying, we going out, we stand out late in the weekends and shit, kicking it. I know we was clubbing and this shit like that. At 15, we had a place called Teen Town. We used to go to that motherfucker, it was Teenage Club. Right there off 55th and Truce, right? So that was one of the places we used to go, but it was a few places we had as far as club wise and shit we can go and kick it on the weekend. Not to mention, I used to always throw house parties. So, I was throwing house parties and shit down there every weekend, really. By the time I got an age of 15, when I got out of Nate Land, yeah, I was throwing hella house parties and shit. But, so, 15, 16, well, 14, 15 to 16, right? And 17, 18 too. So, from 9th grade to the 12th grade, all these different influences, like I said, and it gets harder with the work, and I explained some of the stuff too that I found out or got some information on after I did some research and digging in. I found out more of the curriculars and how the system actually worked. Because remember, like I said, I kind of just, after I went to jail, I couldn't, got out at 18. I wasn't going back and be pushed way back like they was trying to do. So I just left school, you know. So I quit school. I did get my GED though. And I was looking at this motherfucker too, man. This is a copy of my GED right here. I got the actual uh, copy right here, but I don't want to show it, you know. It's kind of fucked up, you know, got water damage and shit, but here's the seal. But I got this motherfucker when I was locked up though at Boonville Correctional. And so I was going through, I said, damn, when I found out the what it take for a high school graduate to pass or graduate, take the 26 credits or whatever, and I was going through the point shit too yesterday on the other day, yeah, yesterday on session 18 about how what it takes for them to get through there. And so I missed the point I wanted to make too. So far as freshmen, so we talking about ninth grade, boom. When you're in ninth grade, they you know, they saying